And the safe word is...
Pine nuts.
I thought it was pepitas.
Oh, pepitas. I knew it was a nut that started with a P. Okay, so there's
something in a gorgonzola.
Now you're just learning about what our salads look like at night.
You tune in now to This Pickleball Life. I'm K-Dubs and JILLYB is my wife. She's the pro and I've got the filler. She's sweet to me, but on the court she's a killer. Unadulterated and efficiently bringing you the best and worst things in PB. Tell your friends and stay for another. And no one loves us more than your mother. One thing's for sure, one hit and you're addicted. Grab a pal, grab a court, don't resist it. So click subscribe, let's go, let's get cracking. Themesong done, let's go, let's get laughing. This Pickleball Life.
Okay, we're back with another pod, people. It's pod number 14, and if you're wondering, there is no pod 13. We have a locked and loaded, stacked lineup for this one. We are going deep on MLP drafting, which is coming up in July. They just finished the signups to register for the next season.
Over 600 applicants.
Everybody's getting shuffled around. So it's going to be exciting. You're definitely going to want to pay attention to this.
I have a couple questions.
I have a disclaimer that there will be a lot of pro pickleball talk.
Wait, 2 questions. Is there no pod 13 like a 13th floor in a corporate office building?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. Just no reason.
And what's the rhyme? It's pod 14.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, it's time.
14.
It's a dream and 14. No, that doesn't rhyme. Wow, did I graduate elementary school?
Yeah.
All right, we'll come back to you guys with a rhyme. But yes, as Kristen said, warning disclaimer, first 15 minutes are going to be pretty heavy on the Major League Pickleball upcoming draft. If you don't want to hear about that or too much pro gossip and pro talk, and you're in the YouTube, you can just go ahead and skip this chapter.
Or, just put it on like 4X and see what you pick up. And we are really we're gonna nerd out, we're gonna geek out. And I also want to remind everyone, we did announce an official location for the Road to Pro SoCal, August 1st and 2nd. It's going to be at the awesome new facility in San Diego, The Hub. So head on over to Duper to sign up. The link will be in the description. And what's really cool about the Road to Pro is it's severely underpriced at $495, and you automatically get $500 to spend on Gamma products. So it's basically free.
Yep, it's 8 hours of total instruction from Sarah Ansbury and yours truly. It's a totally underserved, I think, community of players who want to go pro, but there's such a dearth of really good professional pickleball instruction and advice. It's like every single person who plays pickleball thinks they're an instructor.
Yeah.
It's so funny to me. And then like a lot of these instructional videos I see on YouTube and Instagram, I'm like, no, that's just the wrong information. We may open up a court, just one court for 4 people for Road to 5.0 and lower the Duper level to 4.0. Right now it's a requirement of 4.5. So if that's something you are interested in, definitely you can learn more checking out my Instagram or going to Duper to register. And there's also going to be a Hilton Head one in September.
Absolutely. And I love the combo. We've got the MVP and the OG, Sarah Ansbury. You're definitely going to learn a lot. I think it will be a not to miss situation. So get yourself to San Diego.
And if you're not following me on Instagram, go ahead and do it right now, JILLYB Pickleball, because this is the month of giveaways. So we're giving away some really sick Mizuno tennis shoes. These Wave AC court shoes are literally the best pickleball and tennis shoes I have ever used in my life. I have probably helped 8 different people in the past week purchase these shoes.
Yeah.
And everyone tells me the same thing. I could sleep in them. I didn't know a shoe could be so lightweight. I just won MLP and MVP in these exact shoes. No, we're not giving away my sweaty shoes. There's also a discount code on Mizuno's website. They really don't do discount codes. I think I'm literally the only pickleball player that has one. It's 10JB 2023. 10JB 2023.
Like 10.
Sorry. 10JB 2023 for 10% off Mizuno. We're also going to give away cases of Storm energy drink. If you're drinking Celsius, just stop.
Make it rain.
Let's make it rain. Any other cool giveaways we have going on this week?
Well, we are eventually going to be giving away some PB God stuff
Yep.
as well as some other cool stuff. So just stay tuned. But
And follow JILLYB Pickleball so
we're
you'll get
gonna
all the information on how to enter.
we're gonna put all of that information in the description. So read below and you're good to go. And part of the giveaway will be mentioned later in the pod. So we'll mention in the description back to where in the pod. This is like a full circle situation because we have some guesswork that we're going to put on you. But for now, what else do we have coming up in pod 14? We are going to talk about Jill's theory on paddle evolution, rally scoring, more. Oh, and the Proband giveaway, right? Yeah, some of our myths and a lot of geeking out on the draft. So, in order to keep all of our listeners safe, I have told Jill that she needs to create a safe word when I have hit the limit on my geek out draft theories. And the safe word is
Pine nuts.
I thought it was pepitas.
Oh, pepitas. I knew it was a nut that started with a P. Okay, so there's
something in a gorgonzola.
Now you're just learning about what our salads look like at night. All right, the safe word is pepitas when it gets either too personal or too much, or we're saying too much. I'm gonna yell pepitas. So
Okay.
before KW hops into her MLP draft strategy, I want to say one quick thing, which is she has been a part of MLP since its inception. People don't know this. You were the first ever player services coordinator at MLP in Dreamland 2 years ago.
Before that even was the job that they knew they should have.
Right.
I was the job. They didn't know what to call me.
And Kristen also worked at Duper, partially helping out in data science, running the marketing team. She really geeks out on all things MLP, especially draft. So she's in a very unique position right now to share some intense analytics and insights in terms of the key to draft strategy.
So, do we want to start with that, or the high level gossip you want to drop on them before I get into the real geek Phil?
Well, I think what's interesting is you would never think a team owner would have to worry about, like, do I have to worry about someone being on time? But there's been like big issues with people drinking too much, people being on time to practices, getting confused with like time zones and saying like, oh, sorry, there's been huge issues with players in MLP who've been like, yeah, I don't want to practice today. Like, I feel good. Maybe I hit this morning with my coach. It's like, oh, you're too good to practice with your team. I think there's massive issues with, you see this more with guys in Challenger who had previously played MLPs. So, you know, they felt like they belonged in the premier or the higher level. So they step on the court and they've got this like
chip on the shoulder.
Chip on their shoulder is kind of the best way to describe it. And it's like they're too good to be there, but then they're not performing like in their mind they think they should be. So, I mean, you've got like weird things with Andre Silstrom in Challenger, who didn't play the last event due to a back injury and then drops out of this last event in his warm-up for his first match. Like
on the day of the match.
On the day of the match. He's
Like 10
warming up
minutes
for the
before.
match. He's wearing his jersey and he's like, you know, this
Not
isn't
gonna
going to work. I'm not feeling well. And I can't remember what his injury was. So there are these just like little things you shouldn't think you have to check in on with people. I mean, the drinking the night before is really big for a couple players. Can you imagine
No,
like going
totally.
into a 9-hour day on Thursday and you're drinking Wednesday night?
Right. And I mean, we are now seeing so many new players thanks to MLP that are like, oh, pickleball, like I should try that. That I don't think we're that far off from teams of 6
Yeah,
with one alternate boy and girl on
Totally.
every team. So it's
Totally.
like, yeah, maybe you're borderline, but we know who our sub is.
Yeah.
But there's just not enough players right now. So really overall, the draft is an interesting thing to look at because it's been different in every draft. So just to quickly rewind, the very first OG draft is was a draft with 8 teams, right? So you've got way fewer players, and the way they did it was if you got the number 1 female, you got the number 16, and if you got the number 1 male, you got the number 16 male. And then they actually did the draft opposite from boy girl boy girl boy girl. So it was like first pick was Catherine, then Ben, then Annalie. When we went into the second draft, they did all the women, then all the men, then women, then men. So it was still the same concept, but you definitely like saw them go in order. Now, I could be corrected if I'm wrong, but point being, this year, women and men went poof. All you need to do is at some point pick a man, 2 men and 2 women. So it completely changed what your draft number can mean. You can put all your eggs in the male basket all at once and make your first 2 picks Zane and Matt Wright, like the team that became Pandas did. Or you can start with 2 women like Catherine and Irina on Team Mad Drops, where I think that worked out for them was they got really lucky. And so the through line in all 3 drafts, because they're very different, is that 3rd and 4th pick really having someone left over that really came in clutch. So with that, I'm going to get into the actual KW's secret to drafting for the win. But I wanted to make sure people had kind of an overarching idea that we've got now 12 team owners in 2 different leagues, so actually 24. But in each league, you're doing 1 through 12 and then looping back around in a snake. So if you get the 12th pick, you also have the 13th pick, and so on and so on. So the very first pick gets the very last pick. So the number 1 most important fact is you must start with a strong male or one of 2 women, Annalie Waters and Catherine Parento. I really don't think anyone should have the burden of carrying their team besides those 2 girls. And that's really what it is. It's not a knock on women.
Yeah.
The fact is there are 3 matches that have a man in them, and that is going to affect the speed, strength, and height of that game. And you just can't afford not to have a really strong man. Now, that really strong man does not necessarily have to be super alpha or super tall.
Correct.
But you've got to start with someone who can really own the court in both their men's and their mixed. And if you have AL or Catherine, then arguably you have a little bit of a buffer in both your women's and your
I
mixed.
agree with that completely.
But with that said, I think that the safest strategy is to start male, then 2 females, and then finish with a male.
Yeah.
Because the truth is the borderline bleeding into the Challenger League is just so much more chock full of good options, right? That it's almost like, gosh, who's going to go down? Who's going to go up? It's going to be a compatibility thing. And sometimes, like, do you have an old player? I need a young player. Did I start with a young player? Maybe I need an adult in the room. So you're going to be able to balance that beta alpha, so to speak, where there are some kind of second pick guys who can run and kind of lead a team, but their first guy has to have the real skills on the court.
So just to summarize, your key drafting strategy, with which I agree, is get the strongest guy you can, or Catherine and Annalie, then go female, and then finish male. And the logic behind that is these, quotes, lower level men, they're really strong too.
Yeah.
And then you get someone with upside who is just getting better and better. It's like, it's a no-brainer. Like that makes sense to me versus asking a female who isn't Catherine or Annalie to carry her entire team.
Exactly.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah. So what's interesting to me is in the last draft, right, when we look at the order in which people did male, female, female, male, whatever they did, there was one strategy no one used. Nobody drafted
Female. No, just kidding.
male, female, male, female. Which
Nobody did that.
actually would be my second best strategy.
Wow. Okay, so that would be
And
your
we don't
second
know
best
how good it would
strategy.
be because no one did it.
And no one did it.
And the reason I would throw that in there is if your pick in the order that it ends up being is like you got, let's say, Andre a guy who has been drafted way too low, in my opinion, in the past, who I think will go sooner. And then
Secrets.
you bent the corner and somehow, Anna Bright was still available. So you've got like two strong male, female, and then you're like, okay, well, depending on who's available, if all that's left in one gender is sort of in that equal boat, but you see someone in the opposite gender that's like, we got to snatch them up, like the Thomas Wilson who went 4th round for
Right.
Catherine's team, which is just insane to me. And they still did so well, even though Thomas Wilson had to sub out in Daytona.
The other reason I think the male, female, female, male makes a lot of sense is, and I'll quote Julian Arnold on this. With rally scoring, geez, let's just start the matches at 19-19 and get it over with.
Yeah.
Like, and this kind of harkens back to what we said on our last podcast.
The MLP style player, what are they?
The MLP style player.
are they good at?
Get me the player who is going to perform 25% better at 19-19, who is just going to kick it into gear. And one thing I appreciated in the Real Clear stats that came out, I went back and looked at all of my stats, and it's like a blue, 90-degree, almost vertical ascent of performance at 19-19, or as soon as the last 4 points of the match.
I'll put the link in the description for Real Clear stats.
And so
It's
I
really
guess what I'm
interesting.
trying to say is rally scoring is a skill equalizer, and we're going to talk more about rally scoring later. So what that means is if you get decent players, two decent women, and all these matches already going 19-19, but those women are going to step up. They're going to step up at 19-19. They're just they're an Irina. They're hopefully, I consider myself like there's someone who is going to step up at that time. Well, then it diminished your need to have a first pick female. Like you can go male, female, female, male. Am I making any sense here?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Totally. Because if your 4th guy is Brendan Long, like I still feel like you're like okay if your first guy was Ben or JW or something, like when you get to that last part of the 46th, 47th, 48th players, like you're gonna have choices, right? So not that even
it's just rally
Brendan
scoring
Long
is just such a skill equalizer.
Yeah, totally. And I think to me what it is there are like 9 really strong women. And like I said, 2 or 3 of those are already spent. So then you're left with this really middle section where there's a lot of players that are like, maybe they're better for you or you're better for them, or they do better in PPA, but this person does better in MLP. There's definitely a lot of middle women to choose from. And then those last 3 spots for women are going to a lot of these sort of bubble people that may end up challenger, may end up premier. So it'll be really interesting to see how the logic of the owners fits in with my predictions.
Well,
but our number 2 is that dark horse, which I've already kind of alluded to. It's that 3rd, 4th round. You got to kind of see something that somehow other people don't and get a player who, let's remind the viewers that in last season, mind you, no PPA players in this in the season last year in 2022 rather. Paris Hilton was
Paris Hilton?
That's really funny.
Wow,
Paris Hilton just took up pickleball. Read
and
about
has
it.
entered the
No, I'm just
draft as one of the 600 draft applicants.
Paris Todd was.
Can we cut that into a clip for Instagram, please? This just in. Paris Hilton has entered the draft.
Paris Todd was the 5th to last female picked. And not to mention, Rafa, too, was their 2nd male picked after Zayn. So there's some real, like, how did no one else notice that situations going on? And so I think, yeah, you really got to know your players to snag up those people who are maybe better than everyone else thought they were. So that's number 2. Yeah, first season, getting Irina and Coop on the same team was pretty lucky, and Chimeras starting with Annalie and somehow ending up as their 2nd male was AJ Kohler. Their first guy was Kyle Yates. And then Etta and Lacey Schneeman weren't even in the draft last year.
Mhm.
They were picked up in the shuffle. So it's
Mhm.
just really a sign of how far we've come, especially in the women's department, since that very first
Mhm.
draft season.
Totally.
So the third rule of KW drafting, do not, and this is a really important one because it can be
Are you
easily
copywriting this?
confused.
KW drafting TM
Yes,
trademark.
we're making shirts. Must not draft two alpha males.
Go to
I see this all the time. Go to what?
go to pbgods.com for the KW rules of draft t-shirt commandments.
And the front says rules of draft, and the last is like 1,000 words.
Yeah.
So tiny you can't even read them. You must not draft two alpha males. We see this all the time. Like, there are strong playing males who are more okay with having their B player kind of be the boss on the court, and that works. But so often I've seen these MLP teams think they need such two strong males that they get two guys who
hold on.
can't really play together.
Can you define strong or alpha? You're talking personality, not skill. You're
I'm talking
talking
both, right? So they're like, just as a very like
Give us an
obvious
example. Are you talking about
example,
Julian and AJ in Columbus? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about AJ and Riley,
Oh,
but that's just an example. There are other examples where I think, Zane and Matt could have worked, but I just don't think it was necessary. And they
Yeah.
ended up with having two last picked kind of females. So there wasn't enough to kind of buoy that.
Yeah.
But it's also so much of like there are good players who just don't play well at MLP, and I know a lot of these players have great days, but you've got to find that mix. So do not get too alpha personality guys.
Yeah.
So I don't want to
I think that makes
name
sense.
too many names, but I think we know who's going in that
It's
department.
almost like there's been a lot of talk about chemistry. Is chemistry important?
Yeah.
And here's what I would say on that. Chemistry is not mandatory, but not having chemistry will kill you.
Totally.
Does that make
No,
sense?
that's true. It's like you can't win a golf tournament just hitting it 300 yards, but hitting it 300 yards into a house can kill you for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely the case. And so, yeah, there are definitely some second picked guys who are just more collaborative, let's just say.
Sure.
You need a collaborative male who's like, okay, what's our team strategy? What's my role?
I think everyone needs to have their roles. I feel like that's
yeah.
what my team did a really good job of.
Absolutely.
And I remember something Brandon French had said about Dallas Pickleball Club when Megan Fudge was on it was Megan wanted to play the number one singles line, and she wanted to be team captain. And I think that was really tough for someone to stomach, like Brandon is like a fantastic singles player. Why they put Megan out first? That doesn't make sense. But the whole team was kind of like, well, that's what she really wants to do.
Yeah.
Let's let her do that. So I think if there's any type of like role confusion on a team, and this makes me think about all the corporate teams that I've led, it's like you're going to have a big problem.
Totally. Which brings me kind of to points 4 and 5. Lefty guys at a little bit of a premium. There aren't that many of them, but the ones that exist are kind of all in that second pick.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some up and comers like Pablo, where I think Pablo may have an extra kind of benefit to certain teams. I mean, I know when he subbed in on Simone's team when Rob Nunnery was hurt in Austin last year and I was player services, Simone was like, how do we keep Pablo on the team? He is our glue.
He seems like someone you'd really want on a team.
Yeah, definitely not the guy with the chip on
Talk
the shoulder.
about, you know what? Talk about someone who at 1919 goes into an absolute other gear. I had to experience that, unfortunately, firsthand when he put me flat on my ass in the finals of MLP Daytona at like 1919. I was like, whoa, where did he just come from? Like, he hasn't taken a ball like that this whole match.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, and so I think if you look at that person who comes alive at 17-17, the other really important thing that you're not necessarily noticing unless you're really watching for it is, what were they doing for the first 17 points? Because they were setting up their partner.
Totally.
They've just been set up, steady, steady, don't miss, play the game strategy, and then boom, they're like,
Yeah.
okay, beast mode, let's finish
Yeah,
this.
that's a good strategy.
So yeah, so I think having a girl that can play left with a lefty guy is a really strong little extra.
I think also there's this feeling of, well, don't draft two right-sided girls.
Yeah.
Or, you know, two left-sided guys. And the one thing I would say to that is I think there's this myth in pickleball, and I heard Leah Jansen and Annalie Waters talking about this on an Instagram post this week about, well, that's like one of the biggest myths ever, you know, that you'll always play one side or the left side's stronger. And that kind of reiterates something I've always thought about, which is it's really about matchups. And for me, a lot of people say like, oh, Jill only likes to play the left side. I'm like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Like I end up playing a lot with lefty guys, so I play the left side.
She's able to rise to the occasion on the left, which is not a thing every girl can do.
Way easier for me to play the right side. I literally am so long, I stick my arm out and I take every single ball in the air. It's very hard to get a ball to drop when I'm going cross court dinking with a girl.
Yeah.
And I'm so comfortable reaching in and flicking with my right arm or lobbing over the girl's backhand. My point is, I think we have to get to a point where you're drafting girls and guys, but especially girls who can play both, who are comfortable playing both, and who can switch if things are going wrong and be like, yeah, you know, I'm not seeing the ball well today. I don't want to be in front of Annalie.
Right.
And able to do that. And I think we're going to start to see an evolution, especially in girls, where these women are trying to get strong on both sides.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is an interesting thing with the rally scoring, which is why it's so significant with the lefties and righties to be able to just put two forehands in the middle the whole game, because you don't have to switch, with the ability to switch on a timeout when the time calls for it, or actually stack, which we occasionally saw with Zane's serve before they changed the rules, which I won't get too much into. But yeah, and then obviously Jade Kawamoto being lefty can make some interesting mixed situations as well. But my final absolute rule is you cannot have anyone on your team be a singles liability.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a team full of singles specialists like James Ignatowicz. Well, I shouldn't say specialists, but people who excel at singles. But you have to have someone who understands the strategy of singles and understands the strategy of Dreambreaker singles, which is not the same thing.
Different animal.
Different the same
beast.
thing.
Different beast. So in our very first Dreambreaker against Orlando Squeeze, both Daniel De La Rosa and Ben Newell, my teammates, were missing passing shots. And I wanted to, frankly, I was like ready to strangle them. And so on the side out at 11, the end change, I mean, I grabbed the whole team and I said, guys, just make balls. Yeah. This is Dreambreaker singles. This is literally make your opponent play, stop swinging for lines, be calm.
Just drill it at their chest.
If you need to just drill a ball at their chest when they come up, do that. And of course, like, then Ben and DLR literally do not miss a single shot. And we win the Dreambreaker pretty handily after that point. But to your point, you don't even need a single specialist. You need someone who's not a liability, who knows how to, like, very calmly, as calm as possible, play a singles Dreambreaker. Don't make mistakes. Make them play. Get one more ball over the net. Yeah.
No, absolutely.
The way I play a singles Dreambreaker is not the way I play a singles tournament.
You know, it would be fun. I never thought about this till just now.
I'm ready.
But part of the discussion of singles in pickleball is it happens on the first day. No one's there. It's really tiring because to play that many points to 11 side out scoring match to match to match. I mean, these guys are playing in a bracket so big they have to have qualifiers now. It's really exhausting. But like I said, Dreambreakers are not the same as singles. You know where I'm going with this?
No, I don't.
A Sunday Dreambreaker, every championship Sunday, there's like a halftime show, and it's like a come one, come all, grab a team of 4 and let's play a Dreambreaker.
I love that. I think Sundays though should just be MLP, like Major League Pickleball next year. To me, instead of being like 6 or 8 marquee events, I think it should be you have MLP matches every Sunday of a PPA, and then you've got like 2 super finals or 2 major MLP events per year where there are these dedicated events. But otherwise, you've got every Sunday of a PPA really consistent MLP matches.
Could be spicy. Could be fun. But anyway, I hope singles doesn't die. But there is something that's tough about asking someone to play 4 days in a row if you're, winning. So yeah, that's my draft strategy. We made it through without pepitas.
I haven't said
I'm proud.
pepitas once until now.
Proud.
We are going to do a really fun giveaway, which is $100 to pbgods.com to pick out any products that you want. If you can guess the exact draft number that I will go on July 12th. If you choose 1 through 5, I'm going to assume you mean challenger. If you choose anything greater than 5, we're just going to go ahead and assume
You think
that is
she's
premier.
going down to the challenger town.
Yeah, no, there's been so many like news articles and other pro players and podcasts, and I'm really flattered by these articles and these podcasts saying, well, Jill's for sure going to premier, Jill's for sure going to premier. Yeah, I definitely don't. I'm flattered, but that's like also scary. I never like to count my chickens before they hatch.
Yeah,
So.
This is not a numbers game. This is a person making a choice.
Yeah,
with other choices and with other personalities on the team that they've already picked, influencing those choices. So, yeah, I think it's both.
And I hope MLP doesn't become like a club within a club. I hope level up is not just a slogan. I hope it's something that actually happens where people level up and level down, because I think that's intriguing. I think those are really cool storylines. We're already seeing so much of what goes on the tour bleeding into MLP. Like you've got Riley and Lindsay constantly, perpetually on the same team. You have the Kawamotos on the same team. You have Lucy and Matt on the same team. Lucy and Callie on the same team. When you really stop and think about it, pickleball is a pretty incestuous pool of siblings, spouses, significant others, cousins.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that
AJ and Thomas, in case anyone didn't know where she was going with that.
Yeah, and I hope that Premier doesn't stay like kind of a club within a club.
Did you mention twins?
Yeah, lots of twins, lots of twins,
and twins.
And it's not an issue that you have like family members who play pickleball. To me, it's an issue when the draft is becoming, how do we like replicate the pairings on the PPA tour? Because so much of what's fun about MLP is seeing parity in a very new and exciting way. So for the sake of the league, not just because I want to play Premier, I do hope there is a leveling up and a leveling down for really everyone's sake, for the fans, for the players, for the league itself, and for the soul of the sport.
The passionate fans. Okay, so next we are going to talk about our new favorite recovery device. I know we dedicated 2 entire episodes to recovery, but this one
it's never
is
ending.
The best one yet. It's a T-Boy.
It's a T-Boy. So there is a device called Bemer. I talked a little bit about it.
No, it's not a high-powered vehicle from the southern part of Germany known as Bavaria.
It is German. There is
actually might be from Bavaria.
A device called Bemer, and for the next 2 weeks, all podcast listeners can get $1,000 off. We have been using Bemer every single day for the past 2 weeks, and it was
enough.
I swear, like, I think I'm happier, not just because I won MLP and MVP, but there is something about this increased blood circulation that is definitely helping me with recovery quicker, happiness, general well-being, sleeping better. It's kind of like a miracle device. So for anyone who is struggling with any health issues, who just wants to optimize their recovery, their performance, this apparently gives you the blood circulation of a 21-year-old.
This is for everyone except vampires and zombies.
Yeah.
In other words, if you have a pulse, you need the Bemer. Everyone has blood, and we all could circulate better. I mean, if you think about a lot of the reason for any kind of exercise, it's blood flow. Like, use it or lose it. And so what happens sometimes is we'll have these injuries, like I have a torn ACL, and things get cut off down there in the lower extremities. This helps to activate your capillary movement. It's not just your heart that pumps blood. It's the capillaries, these tiny little things going poof, poof, poof. We got to get them flowing out. And there's been really cool.
They can't talk about like the off-market uses when they talk about the value prop of Bemer, but you can actually Google public health studies on Bemer's effect for helping get rid of cancer radiation. So all the radiation that stays in your cells when you have radiation, Bemer helps expedite the expulsion of all of that from your literal like cellular tissues and
filtration.
organs. It's helped people who have MS. Anyway, so really exciting product. If you're interested in the $1,000 off, you can email thispblife@gmail.com. thispblife@gmail.com. I do want to say one thing on a personal note. I don't think we talk too much personal stuff, but I want to say happy 2-year anniversary.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Happy anniversary.
2 years, 8 years together. Anyway,
Yeah.
love you more every single day.
Lots of fun, lots of love, and more adventures to come. We're going to Margaritaville.
And thank you to everyone who wrote in and said we should go to the
Riviera Maya.
Riviera Maya Cancun because
Adults
it's an
only.
adult only. So thank you. We are going to do that. I think we're going to do that in December for Kristen's birthday. Last personal thing, Kristen is scheduled for surgery July 24th. She does have a really bad bone bruise from her last fall on her knee where she's missing her ACL, and she tore her menisci, plural. So she is getting ACL repaired and her
opportunity menisci. Got them both.
So send her some good love for July 24th.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And also be, sending some love July 12th for the draft. So
in case anyone's wondering what our conversations look like from the moment our eyes open in the morning until they close at night, it's just...
So they open again in the middle of the night because I can't sleep because I'm thinking about, and then I close them again, and then maybe
just
watch
the draft.
some old podcast thinking about.
It's just the draft. July 12th cannot come fast enough so we can stop running mock drafts on our Excel spreadsheets.
If you have remembered, you can judge how much sleep I've had by my face or lack thereof. This is what 6 hours looks like. It's not the best. Although last night I actually slept, but it was 2 nights of not so much.
So I want to talk paddle evolution. I think this is one of the most interesting topics in the sport right now. We had our paddles tested before every single match at Major League Pickleball with Pickle Pro Labs, PPL. And I had some extraordinarily insightful conversations with the gentlemen that run Pro Pickle Labs. And I think I speak for every major pro pickleball association right now that in saying, I think we're not going to see the game get faster at the pro level. I think this is it. This is the paragon.
This will be
the apex,
the aluminum bat moment of pickleball.
Yes.
Where if you don't already know, baseball, they don't have aluminum bats for the pros. They never did. It wasn't like they had them and then went away. But
this is the aluminum
the fastest the ball will ever move.
Bat moment where paddle technology will be at its apex for the pro game. I think players agree with that. The pro organizations agree with that. I think USAP agrees with that. I think PPL agrees with that.
I think
for safety,
racquetball would like to go backwards.
Yeah, no kidding. Now, I don't think that means the evolution for paddle technology stops. I think we're talking about like a pro game stop. But for amateurs, yeah, I think we're going to see all sorts of cool stuff. I mean, there's this paddle by Master Athletics called the Q1 that we just got. And it's literally, we have it right there. It is like ping pong material.
I got it.
And you can do the craziest, funnest is not a word, stuff with the ball. So I mean, look, this is just my opinion that the evolution of paddles is going to cease or drastically diminish at the pro game, but we're going to still see a pressing of the limits continuously in the amateur game, which is where 99.9% of the paddles are being sold anyway.
But yeah, like the paddle basically has like a sheet coated on, almost like a sticker. I know Master's probably not stoked about me using the word sticker, but it feels a lot like a ping pong paddle that has the foam.
Yep.
It's like a quiet foam that just happens to also increase the spin quite a bit.
So tell me,
illegal.
Tell me if you agree or disagree with that assessment. I mean, I think it's a safety concern at the pro level.
No, I don't think we want to see everyone wearing glasses because they have to.
Right.
I mean, I always joke it's a wiffle ball, but at some point, the essence of the game of pickleball is what's so fun to watch is people get shots you don't think they can get. The defense. And if we continue down this road of speed, it will just be like, oh, it's sitting up, it's gone, it's dead, it's over. And I don't think that's what anyone wants to see. They want to see, Elise Jones diving and then getting back in the point and
Yep.
finishing it out.
So speaking of paddles, I want to share that I have found what I think is the best paddle in the game. I have finally found what I think, after reviewing over 20 of the premier paddle brands that exist, I have found the best paddle. The paddle that does not sacrifice power, that actually hits it harder than any paddle I've ever tried. The paddle that tests for the most grit, so pushes the limit on grit and grab and spin, that feels the best and has absolutely no dead spots and lasts the longest. I have found the magical paddle.
The T-boy of all T-boys.
And I can't tell you about it right now. But this week I will, and I have found it, and I'm so excited.
Really, really stoked. Yeah, I mean, it's an important part. It's kind of like the drive or the singles player or any of these other concepts we've talked about. You can't win just because of your paddle, but you can definitely be left behind.
Yeah.
You can definitely be left behind, and it is going to be interesting to see which paddle companies are left behind.
Yeah.
But
or a little late to the game.
late to the party, maybe.
Late to thermoforming, or are doing thermoforming, but the paddles aren't passing. Like we could go down a paddle diatribe another time.
Totally. So yeah. And we talked about the aluminum bat, but also
Drivers, golf.
460 cc, I think, became the limit when I was in high school, which was like 2003. And is still the limit. I don't think it's changed from 460 since then. So at some point, it's just a pumpkin on a stick, as my dad liked to say. I like to turn him into a hick sometimes. I don't know why. So yeah, we'll see what happens with the paddles. But the other evolution in pickleball that
Rally
is a little
scoring.
it's a little bit of a fork in the road.
Right.
And my theory is that it's not a either or, it's a both and. I think there's a place in the world for both. But I do think that there are more benefits to rally scoring than the benefits to side out scoring. Jillian, go.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a both and. I think rally scoring is what I call the 3 Fs. It's the future, it's fun, it's fast. It's friendly, it's easy to learn. That's 4
And
Fs.
it's simple.
Yeah, so very easy to learn, very easy for the everyday player to figure out. I talk a lot about having 8 million recreational players playing at the public park. Actually doesn't really help the game that much. You want to convert, like USA Pickleball only has 70,000 members. I think there's only 200,000 that have ever played a pickleball tournament of that 8 million or greater than 8 million sample set. So again, that's not helpful. You want to convert the recreational player to someone who is playing in a league, who's playing in a tournament, who cares. Why? Then they care. They care about their skill. They care about their improvement. That's why duper and rating systems are really important. It ties you in a meaningful way to a metric that's tracking your performance. It's getting you invested, deepening your interest in the sport. And the scoring of pickleball is the single biggest inhibitor to people getting more invested in the sport, to wanting to try to play in a league. I can't tell you how many people I know who play recreationally who say, I would play a tournament. I'm too scared. I don't know how to keep score. This isn't rocket science, people. Like, look what volleyball did. Volleyball changed from side out to rally scoring. Their numbers for viewership increased over 100% in like a 10-year period.
Wow. And what's interesting about the way that volleyball
Nobody wants to turn on the TV and see something 0-0 for 15 minutes. This is not rocket science.
The interesting thing I think with volleyball is, A, the serve is more like tennis. It is a factor. A strong serve wins a lot of points. There are aces. And B, the conversion was first just for the third game. They didn't just make everyone do it.
Yeah.
They made everyone just do it in the third game.
Yeah.
The most important game, right? So it was like a beautiful balance of like, you got to do it. It saves us like time and predictability. And we still can, if you want to just play side out scoring, just win the first 2 games. You don't have to play the third.
Yeah. And what bothers me when I hear the reasons someone doesn't like rally scoring, they're usually just nonsensical. It's basically like, I don't want to change.
I'm used to the other thing.
I'm used to the other thing. And it's like, look, I don't really care how the pro players feel about it. I'm gonna be honest with you, because what's best for the sport as a whole is rally scoring. And when I
Mhm.
hear pro players go like, oh, well, MLP is just for entertainment. What business do you think you're in? What
Right.
business do we think we're in? We're in the entertainment business.
Right. And we're not going to get into all the stats, but they did do another Real Clear Stats, right? It was that company. Or was that
Yeah, it was
WJ?
Real Clear Stats.
I'll put that link as well in the description. But the main conclusion I saw from it in a very simplistic way is the teams that were better still won, and the game play time was just tightened.
Yes, you have
There
to
were
be
not such
able.
short blowout 11-0s, and there were not such like epic like
Yeah,
hour and a half
you
matches
can't
that
buy television time, and you can't plan effectively for broadcasting if you don't know how long a match is going to last. Like, it's that simple.
Yeah.
Rally scoring fixes that. So again, I've just yet to hear a logical argument against rally scoring. Now, does MLP do it perfectly? Are there ways where it would be really nice if, at least for the pros, I returned someone else's serve every
Yeah.
now and then? Yeah, of course. So I think there's going to be iterations of it, and maybe they're kind of like how I think there's going to be paddles for pros. Maybe there's a variation of rally scoring that's just for the pros, and then for amateurs, you've got maybe a slightly easier version of that. I want to hear your opinions on rally scoring. If someone can give me a logical, well thought out reason against it, I'd love to hear it. You can drop it in the YouTube comments. You can email us. I can talk rally scoring for hours.
You know, I never thought about this until just now, but because of that like mandatory player switch, like if you keep winning points, the other person on your team serves the next one
Yeah,
every
I think
time.
that's stupid.
I think that could actually bring back the spin serve because it's like there's only so much that one person can do when half the points have to be served from your
This
other person.
podcast just took a turn for the worse. Bring back the spin serve. No. Hard no.
All right.
The serve is an equalizer in the game. So it's the same reason you don't want paddles that hit 200 miles an hour. It's like defeating the purpose of the equalizing effect. The serve is built, the game is built so that the receiver has the advantage.
But I
It's
think
the spirit of the game.
well, we'll leave it at that. But I think people did start to figure out the freeze just as they made it illegal. So
The freeze or the
I
spin
mean
serve?
the spin. So anyway, we can remove that part if you want. But speaking of the freeze,
It's okay. You don't have to
obviously
agree with me on every single topic. It's all right. I'm not your pickleball master. Just your life master. Whoa,
wait,
cry for help.
wait,
Call for help.
what?
Call for
What?
help.
Blinking,
Pepitas,
blinking.
pepitas.
No,
Hey,
but
Kristen. Wait, real fast. Kristen's like, bring back the spin serve. She's never had to stand against Zane Navratil, who turns his back, spins the serve, it bounces 90 degrees in the opposite direction where you think you're going to hit. And here's Kristen sitting here 4.25 duper, like, bring back the spin serve. It wasn't so bad.
I don't know. I thought that the consensus was that kind of anyone can do it, and I played against 4.25 or 4.5 guys doing it. I find it hard to believe it was like that drastically different. I've returned Morgan's serve and your serve. I mean, I've done it poorly, but my return of serve already sucks. So what's the difference if it sucks a lot and I just throw everything in the air? I'm fine with it.
Spin serve ain't coming back. Rest in peace.
All right. Chainsaw, stay in the grave. Okay, but speaking of which, I think the freeze is an interesting twofer, having come from Duper.
Like, I think
where
the
we
freeze
care
doesn't
about
need to
the-
be an amateur pickleball. The rally
But
scoring freeze
the
at
irony is,
at 2018.
I absolutely love it when I'm playing, but stats wise, it does make it just very difficult to not see very tight games. So it's a little harder to distinguish the better players with the freeze, which is like the point and the sort of catch-22 of the freeze is it creates tighter matchups and more comebacks, but still fewer comebacks than you would think. So the beauty is when you're on the court and you're down 12-17, you're like, hey, we just got to make it to till they get to 20 and maybe we still have a chance.
I know.
But I also really love staying on your side. I don't know if the rest of the world shares my plight in playing with a bunch of lefties who are not excellent at stacking or fast. And I, with my one ACL that's already been repaired and the other one dangling, am responsible for like covering the court, keeping the score, keeping track of the stack, keeping track of the stack on the other side. And you know, if I play rally scoring, I just put my lefty over there and we just play. And I really appreciate that. So it's not like a pro factor thing, but I do think it's huge to not have two backhands in the middle when your lefty is your weaker player. So just a thing. Side note. But do you have anything more to add on the rally scoring debate?
No, come at me. I'd love to have a rally scoring debate with
FFF.
anyone. Yeah, FFF. Debunk my FFF.
Mm-hmm.
Fun, friendly, fast.
So do you wanna talk about the Proband relief package?
Absolutely. So with code JILLYB10, you can get a Proband relief package, or you can purchase an individual Proband product. For those of you that saw me at MLP, I had my Proband on nonstop, won the tournament with it, won MVP with it. I have ulnar nerve pain. I've got pickleball elbow. I've got right rotator cuff pain. I wear this thing literally nonstop around the house. They also make a knee version, and I didn't know this, but an ankle version. And my biggest pet peeve with ankle braces are I can feel them in my shoe. They take up too much space and I get a blister. This you do not feel, which is really, really cool. So anyone who's suffering from knee pain, ankle pain, or arm pain, I highly recommend the Pickleball Pain Relief Package at Proband. Again, JILLYB code for 10% off.
Yeah, really
Code
cool.
is JILLYB.
Designed by doctors, really well constructed products. They have magnetic products as well, so you get both benefits. Really great stuff. Anyone out there who has been drinking Celsius?
Just stop.
I mean, it's over.
It's over.
Celsius be done. And get in on our rainstorm. It's so delicious. It reminds me of when I was a kid. I used to have these things called I think juicefuls. They were kind of like hard candy gushers.
Yes, that's exactly what
And
it
it was
tastes
like a
like.
Jolly Rancher on the outside, but a gusher on the inside. And that flavor, that like peach nectarine flavor,
Is Storm.
was like stored deep, deep, deep in the back of my cerebellum. And when I had the first rainstorm, I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
Juicefuls. So delicious.
The one thing I will say is I hated caffeine. Like, I very rarely would take any type of caffeine on the court. I'm someone who drinks like a half calf shot of espresso in the morning with a little bit of cappuccino style foam. I'm not a caffeine person because I'll feel like I'll be awake all night. I get jittery, but I do not get jitters with this clean energy drink. So Rainstorm, I really don't. And I used to drink like a Coke every now and then on the court if I was like really dying. And that didn't work out well for me at MLP Daytona, as we all know. So I've switched to clean energy, and it's been like really a game changer on these like long pickleball days.
Yeah, and again, it's like everything people are looking for. It's clean energy, it's 0 calories, it tastes delicious.
No sugar.
It's in a skinny can, which just makes you feel skinny. They're after it. They got it. They've cracked the code.
They really have.
So yeah, don't forget to guess Jill's draft order in the comments for your chance to win a case of Dreamstorm. Now I'm doing your thing. To guess Jill's draft order in the comments for your chance to win
$100 to PB Guts.
all of the above. All of the above.
And comment also or email us if you have different thoughts on rally scoring, if you agree or disagree with Kristen's draft strategy. We want to hear all of your thoughts.
Yes, give me your draft strategies and we can all draft together with 0 power.
You can write into Dear JILLYB with any questions that you have. Again, it's thispblife@gmail.com. If you're interested in the $1,000 off of Bemer, again, write us thispblife@gmail.com. And for next week, we're continuing the epic giveaways. We're going to be talking about the 5 biggest pickleball myths. We kind of touched on this earlier with left-sided and right-sided players. We're going to be obsessing more and more over the draft. We're going to be talking about my partnerships for the PPA Denver. It's going to be really interesting. And this just in, I am returning to singles for the very first time
Excited.
at the PPA Denver. So we're going to be talking about what it looks like trying to get in shape, adding a third event to a pro player's schedule and arsenal and calendar.
Yes.
Anything else we're going to be talking about next week, K-Dubs?
Well, first of all, happy 4th of July coming up.
Yep,
Make
be
sure
safe.
to get your PB Gods 4th of July gear. Dinks and drives forever. But one of my favorite holidays. I don't know what it is about that red, white, and blue that gets me excited. But yeah, I think that's basically it. We're gonna be cracking that preview and getting that last minute updates to. We'll probably by then find out who's in and who's out on the draft list, and that will be exciting to see which players are hopping in.
I think
and
Paris
hopping
Hilton's going to be in. So yeah, join us next week. It's going to be a good one. And again, don't forget, email us thispblife@gmail.com. We
that
out.
was episode 14. We done.
This Pickleball Life is a Tomahawk production, 100% organic, self-made, and homegrown. Music by K-Dubs, editing by K-Dubs and JILLYB. Check out pbgods.com and use code PBLifers for 10% off your next order. Do you have a question for JILLYB? Email us at thispblife@gmail.com to be included in future episodes. Don't forget to click subscribe.
This Pickleball Life.